it gradually became more and more clearer because this is much larger than just Chad and Lori. This isn't just a one-time happenstance like a lot of people have led people to believe in the mainstream media. And I mean, this branches out so far and so wide. It's a pandemic. It's or whatever. It's an epidemic. It's a problem. I mean, looking back with everything that has gone on, everything that took place, all the pain, all the this crap, all the trial and all the details of just a very insecure and narcissistic woman who wanted to get her way. She wanted her cake and she wanted to eat it too. She wanted to be married, just not to Charles. She wanted to be married, just not to Joe. She's not happy with herself. She didn't want to be she wanted to be married, but not to Colby's dad once he didn't fit her anymore. It's like they go in thinking they can fix people or something weird, Maybe that's that whole healing thing. I don't freaking know. When they can't even save themselves. I just believe that Lori grew up in a toxic, enmeshed family, and it was volatile, it seems. I don't know, because again, I wasn't there. But yeah, she was always like this. Nobody paid attention because she's a seductress. I didn't live near them. Like I said, I didn't go there, but she came, Uncle Charles, Tylee, JJ, Colby, the boys came, like they would not all come in at one time, but sometimes they did, but sometimes they didn't. The last really good time that I remember my Uncle Charles coming in with Lori, but I remember my Uncle Charles more. It was in 2016, and he had just found the show Breaking Bad. And I had already, like, I watched it from the very beginning, which is unusual because I usually don't watch shows, what until way later after they're not popular anymore. And he was like, "Oh my god," he had oh my god, Heisenberg. He had a Heisenberg shirt on, and he was like, he just wanted to talk about that. He was like, "That dude is crazy," and he was just real animated and real Uncle Charles. He was just being Uncle Charles, but he was in good spirits. He was, it was light. And I remember whenever they adopted JJ, I was against it. I was totally against it, and I got mad at my mom even, and kinda didn't go around for a hot minute. Because I was like, "We can do this. We got this," it's my only nephew, my only chance at ever being an aunt. I don't have any other, I have step nieces and nephews, luckily, but Jason doesn't have any, and anyways, my brother, JJ was born to my brother and his girlfriend, Mandy. Um, they were in a long-term relationship, but they were very toxic for one another, and of course, they did drugs. We know how that turned out. Todd was arrested, I wanna say the day after JJ was born, but it was on old charges, which is sad because he wasn't doing anything in that moment. It sucks because you never know what could have been. I don't think my brother would have murdered him, his son, okay? I'm not saying I don't know what kinda life it would have been. Just one of those things where you let go and you let God, and it just is what it is because that's what it is, it's because people are selfish and they use their children and everything around them as pawns because they are just so trying to fill a void in themselves that they use people for pawns. Everything's about money. Everything's about trying to fill that hole that is there. I also think that Lori was raised in a satanic ritual abuse home, similar to, maybe not similar to the Hamblins. I don't know because Janice will, and Summer and Adam and Barry, anybody, the Cox family that's left besides Megan, nobody everything's great. Everything's fine. There's nothing. Everything's just very surface deep. And so you get nothing, but everything's great. And that's just a big crock of shit because not everything is great. Not everything is fine. That is a lie. Okay. And it's maybe a lie that has to be told to oneself in order to cope. I don't know, or deal. I have no idea. I believe that's why Alex was her protector. There's these words, these terms that are used within the satanic ritual abuse arena, especially the Hamblin case, which is a Mormon arena. And I believe that Chad and Laura, they belong to this SRA case that was all the rage back in the 1980s and 1990s. The victims that came forward to confess and try to get help from the church, but the church sent Glenn Pace, a general authority, to go and investigate, and he did, and he did like 60 interviews with 60 victims. He had to pace himself because he could have done more. There were like 180 people, and there that he claimed that, and he was just guesstimating. A lot of people blow things out of the water, and they're like, oh yeah, like, it's not a satanic panic. It's a label that was slapped on horrible, horrible, severe child abuse cases. Okay. And that allowed this to continue on until, in my opinion, 2019, whenever Charles was murdered, Tylee, JJ, Tammy, all the people. Okay. It's just a continuation, in my opinion, of a problem that was never taken care of back in the 1990s when Bishop Glenn Pace issued the memo. No, he didn't issue the memo. My bad. He turned his report in to his leadership brethren, the leaders of the church, and it was never intended to be seen by the public. You, me, none of us. So it's not like Bishop Glenn Pace was trying to sway anybody. He was just reporting back like he was assigned to do, to the brethren, and it was not dealt with. Tom Harrison at the time, the therapist, it's been said that he was actually trying to convince the brethren, because he has, connection and can see them. Okay. Anyways, he was trying to convince them to accept or acknowledge satanic ritual abuse as a real phenomenon, whatever that means. And so obviously they didn't go that way. And I mean, I have my opinions as to why it's not. I mean, Russell Nelson, his daughter and son-in-law, were accused of having, or being holding these touch parties allegedly, and just nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. And that is why we have this raging ass problem still to this day. This is why we have Ruby Frankie, Jody Hildebrandt, David Hamblin, Lori and Chad, and I'm sure a lot more of these egregious cases. But Bishop Glenn Pace had mentioned that there were about 800. Okay, that's quite a bit of these practicing Satanists that they had to hold dual membership within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, as well as the LDS Church of Satan. Okay. They had to hold dual membership. And so they had to be amongst the good saints too, right? And that's their little infiltration. Okay, well, 800, they have a lot of kids, if you think about it. That's a lot of families. That was back in 1990. So do just a little basic simple math there, and that's quite a bit of some inverted people, I'd say. So when we question ourselves and wonder why we have the Shanna Gardners, Ruby, Jody, Pam, I mean, because it's not just the ones that are highlighted, in the media. It's all the ones in and around these circles. It's the Christina Atwoods, the Nicole Earls, all these people, in my opinion. So that's just me. I don't know. It just seems very common sense. It's not a far stretch to say that, Carolina, it's not a far stretch to say that this group still exists because it was never dealt with back then. And that the church acknowledged the fact of this, and they made statements, but they don't make statements anymore because, no answer is also an answer to me. When you say nothing, silence speaks volumes, especially when Tylee and JJ were missing. And for a church that claims to have 16 million members worldwide, not one time did they want to help two of their little lambs. Okay. To me, I was just like, what is that? Why are they not doing that? That to me was the most wake up call ever. And I also found it interesting that the church involved itself throughout the judicial process of Lori, for sure, Chad too, because they were joined together. And, it's just interesting that when Lori was deemed incompetent, and then this is just me and my conspiracy theory. This is my conspiracy theory for sure. I do believe that the mental health technician that was overseeing Lori, and her trying to gain her mental competence back. I don't think Lori was ever mentally incompetent. I think that she was maybe starting to blab a little bit too much. And so she was deemed incompetent and made to stay in a state hospital that just happened to be the one in Blackfoot, which, there's the Mormon church used to own those facilities. And I think maybe by extension, because, they're always shell companies, or they're always front companies that aren't directly tied to the church, because they're not dumb. They're not dumb. They got to save their money for the second coming of Jesus Christ, don't you know? Or a rainy day fund, or a fire. What's the other one? A fire insurance or something. Anyway, so I just find it interesting that the mental health technician on October 5th, 2021, actually sat with Lori, allegedly, according to Lori. Now, how much do we believe her? But, you know, just saying. October 5th, 2021 is the first time I ever streamed live, and I streamed Chad Daybell's hearing. Lori and her mental health technician allegedly watched the hearing, which is interesting, right? And then the Lori alleged that the mental health technician actually assigned Lori homework to call and look for a new attorney or something, whatever, allegedly. And so Lori allegedly calls Curtin and McConkie. Curtin and McConkie, they're like, hello, hotline that's only here for the church bishops and everything. We're here to serve us, not any kind of victim. Okay. So, in my opinion, no, not in my opinion too, but Lori ends up talking to none other than Daniel McConkie. And you're just like, what? How the hell did she do that? I mean, I'm just saying, I think it was maybe like mental health technician allegedly would have had to have passed a number to Lori. Lori gets patched through right to Daniel McConkie, allegedly. And then, bada bing, bada boom, Mark Means is slapped with a gag order, and he's thrown off the case, disqualified, which he should have been, right? I don't disagree with that. I just like transparency and I don't like corruption. If you have a good case, you don't need any any traka, okay? You don't need that. You don't need it because you're solid. Your investigation is solid. Everything's solid. You're good. You got the guy. You just need to convict him, right? That's how I look at it. Well, so weird that Curtin McConkie talked to Rob Wood, but not the defense attorney, which would have been Mark Means or even John Pryor. Okay. So and I did question. I reached out to Mark Means during Lori's trial. I mean, I was like, I just got to know, what can he do? He can either not say anything. He don't have to answer me. And I even told him, I was like, don't tell me nothing about the case. Just, I'm telling you what I'm doing. You tell me if I'm hot, cold, or whatever. Okay. And he was like, you're really on to something. I was like, okay. I was like, I think she's in a secret Sam society. Okay. Okay. I think there were more people that attended both kids' murders. It's a gathering. That's what they call it. And these nonprofit organizations, they are just a front and to give them alibis, in my opinion. I'm just saying, not a far stretch. I mean, they do say that secret societies are in plain sight, yet they're so elusive, and it's because we have naysayers all the time who are slapping labels on things, three-letter government agencies, and I use my common sense, y'all. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. No, I never was, but I landed in a global one, and I'm just like, what in the F is this? I mean, it's not like I sought it out. It was like, oh, ooh, I just set out to find out where Chad and Lori's beliefs differed from the church. I wanted to know why they were calling them a cult and a cult leader, but yet there's no cult. Okay. That's called named and unnamed co-conspirators. Where's the rest of them? Please. We're waiting. It's not going to happen in Arizona because that they don't. I have to go look at the indictment again, or the probable cause, the papers, to kinda see what they do say. I don't think they say co-conspirators named and unnamed. Hell, they wouldn't even charge Chad Daybell because, not likely of a conviction. So it's like, what do you do? What do you do? So, anyways, I just think it's interesting that, Jim Archibald and John Thomas, ended up being the attorneys before Lori was even indicted, by the way. She got death penalty attorneys, yet she didn't get the death penalty because prosecution turned in information or a discovery over that would have contained like 5,000 or something. Uh, I don't know, a lot of information from the FBI, and I was like, oh my God. And so, because for the first time and the only time, prosecution, oh, we turned it in a day late or what, after 5:30 or something. It was something stupid. It was like a technicality. And so they're like, prosecution, we're going to punish you. Okay. We're going to punish you. And so we're going to take the death penalty off the table, young lady. It's like, okay, huh? That was so weird because she should. I agree with Julie, what's her face on Julie Grant on Court TV. Her ass should have been and got the death penalty like they sought out to do. But yet they go ahead and turn around, disqualify her attorney who should have been disqualified because he was representing at one time at least both Lori and Chad. Then she gets the two death penalty attorneys. Then Koberger happens. Koberger gets Ann Thomas. That was the next one on the roster that was qualified. But yet Lori wasn't charged or indicted yet because remember, she went to the mental hospital. I mean, it's just odd. These are just things that you notice in your periphery. I don't know what the hell they are. I'm just going through this just like you guys. And I'm not a legal expert, but again, I'm not dumb. I might be slow. I might be late, but I'm not dumb. Okay. I'm just like, that doesn't seem right. And I'm not trying to I'm just like, that's weird. If you have a good, solid investigation, integrity means the world. People don't make a name that way. They don't make their reputation that way. They don't get elected with a bad reputation and a smeared reputation. So people, these officers, and I mean, God bless them. It's like half of me, I have to like compartmentalize because half of me, I mean, I just am like, "Oh my god, what they had to see, nobody should have ever had to see. Nobody should have ever had to investigate or know or learn. Nobody should have had to see these kids this way or any dead kid that way." Okay, let's just get that out there. But there's corruption everywhere. Okay, could be one bad seed, could be 10. They could be in a brotherhood together. They might go to the same church, but they also might be in the same brotherhood together. It's not so much a cult, but there are fraternal orders. They do exist. They exist in plain sight, and I'm not dumb. I'm not dumb. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Yeah, I know that too. And then again, corruption. When I was researching into the death penalty and how Idaho just is so not at all above the they're not ethical at all, in my opinion. Like Gerald Pizzuto, that case right there, it's alleged out there. It's alleged that Idaho officials showed up in an off a flight with a suitcase full of money to obtain the chemicals in order to carry out said death penalty. And I'm just like, that's just nasty right there. If you can't do it the right way, don't do it at all. But it is funny how Chad Daybell gets the death penalty and then Koberger happens. And I'm like, yeah, that's why they're implementing that. But then if you go along with the Mormon theme, the blood atonement thing, then that kind of counts as blood atonement. If depends on who the executor is, who's shooting the pow pow. It's just a whole messed up world, y'all. I mean, we do have a very broken system, that we're all trying to. I mean, some of us have been caught up in it ourselves, whether it's a speeding ticket or jaywalking or a freaking capital offense. Okay, my brother's in prison. His son was murdered by a murderer. A slew of them, in my opinion, a bunch of gatherers, and yet, it's so crazy how Lori called JJ her drug baby and, because my brother and his girlfriend, Mandy, were on drugs. And yet, whenever mom was reading her victim impact statements, she's like, Lori, Todd forgives you. And I know he does because he told me, and he does. And it's not to say what she did was right, but that's the adoptive mother of his son that he didn't get to raise, and she murdered him. He forgave her because 'Cause isn't that strange how them drug addicts, just have a lot more Jesus in them than these churchgoers with their snubbed up noses and shit, exalted and stuff. You know some Lories out there. I know y'all do. That's some church ladies. Remember the church lady on Saturday Night Live? Satan, right? Yeah, so I don't even know if Chad Daybell is grandfathered in there or not. Like, I don't know because it was after, but I'll have to go look at the guidelines unless you know. That would be interesting to know just the technicalities of it. Will he get firing squad? Will he whatever? Will he get some chemicals obtained by a suitcase full of cash or what? It's like the damn Wild West over here, straight up. Yeah. I'm sorry. I've been trying to, like, just keep my train of thought, so I've not been able to. I've kinda noticed your comments, but yeah. Well, oh, man. It's nuts. It just is really this is the most crazy experience to ever go through, and then it's my aunt on top of that. Not to mention Todd, Lori shot his uncle too. So it's like, I just find it interesting. Yes, they are. Or any of you can feel the Mormon word right there with all of them, all the mainstream. It really sucks from this side of things. I'm not here to tear down anybody's beliefs. I'm just here to get to the bottom of some stuff. And sometimes, you have to kind of separate. I had to separate myself from, okay, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I also really want to get to the bottom of this. And these people are saying nothing's happening. We don't teach that here. We don't have the 144,000. We don't have the Church of the Firstborn. And yet, yeah, you do. It was so confusing and so, like, if I were the police and an investigator or whatever, and I was trying to investigate this case, that would have been obstruction of justice to me because it obstructed and took a lot of precious time because I was just like, what? For somebody who didn't, I was just a layman, basically. I knew just basic tenets of Christianity, period. I mean, besides going to catechism, I apparently blocked it out because I don't remember crap. I was just like, that's boring. Catechism is boring. Okay. It was the same thing every damn year, every year. So that was just my experience. That's not everybody else's. And I'm not putting anybody down, but I'm also like, Jesus and Satan are not brothers. Okay. In my opinion, allegedly. We don't know. You weren't there. Nobody was there. Okay. So nobody knows. So nobody gets to weaponize anything and then use it against people to shame them and guilt them and then push them away from God and the church at the same time. Because when they leave the church, they leave God too, most likely. A lot of times. And that's just shitty. And that's kind of, in my opinion, how Satan works, right? It's just to slowly, drop by drop, manipulate and whatever. Again, I can't prove it. I don't know, but whatever source is, whoever source, whatever, it resonates with me. It resonates with my soul. I don't know what that looks like, nor do I try to push that on anybody else. Just be a good person. I appreciate y'all for letting me do that. I think that Chad was most likely a Freemason. I don't know. I really don't know because we also didn't hear a lot from Chad Daybell's family. We heard from Heather, but luckily, but not really much else besides at his trial. I mean, it goes to that patriarch stuff that maybe he's in a brotherhood. I could see him wearing a stupid apron in the Brotherhood Club. Just saying. He wore one in the temple. Just saying. Just saying.